I've been blogging a little bit this week. If you guys want to go check out some blogs that I've been working on, you can go to nicksparksphotography.com. I did a blog on ambient people, and that's sort of
Ambient people?
yeah. So it's
Like
work.
people that
It
are in
was
the
about
background?
kind of like a productivity blog, and it's about working in spaces where there's people that you don't have to interact with, but they're just kind of around, right? So
Oh, it's like
yeah,
street photography.
no. So I just like work on my computer or iPad or whatever,
Oh.
and so
And
I
you
like
just
working
see
in
things
these.
happen randomly. You pull out a camera.
No, it's just I like to work around people. So if there's people around me getting work done, or just kind of going about their day and stuff, then it just kind of it's like a productivity hack. So I did a blog on that, and then
Huh, interesting. I'll have to read
yeah,
that one.
yeah, and then what was the other one I did? And then I did a blog on how to live more like an artist. So a lot of that dealt with getting rid of like remedial tasks and repetitive tasks, and then if you can get rid of those things, and you can kind of focus more on more meaningful stuff or things that matter to you more. So,
Yeah.
was
But don't
there?
get too caught up with removing the remedial tasks. I have a tendency to do that. Where I
Uh,
spend so much time just trying to get rid of stuff that I don't want to do that I spend all my time trying to figure out how to get rid of stuff.
oh yeah, you're just kind of wrapped up in the workflow and
Yeah,
stuff.
just wrapped up in that kind of stuff over and over again in the workflows.
Yeah. I
For
think
sure.
the
Trying
thing
to figure
is,
out how to save a few more minutes, but then I spend hours trying to figure out how to save those few minutes, and I'm like, well, maybe this
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah, and then two other blogs, one on one praising randomness in photography, but then another blog saying like about why you shouldn't be too random with your photography and why you should.
It's just like I'm gonna have to do both sides of this coin.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
right.
cool, man.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of years just doing random photos and
Yeah.
just kind of
It's kind of how
maybe
you start, I think. Like
yeah,
you're just
maybe
trying
buying
to
a
figure out
lens,
what you're doing.
taking pictures of like girls or whatever.
Or just
So
going out on random photo walks and photographing things, like
yeah, but yeah, it's
taking
not
lots of
very
random pictures to get
yeah,
better at it.
it's not very meaningful. It's not
No.
very
But it hones the skill.
yeah. But I mean, like, so when you die, and who knows when you're gonna die, but when you die, does that any of that stuff really matter? I don't think
Well, I
so.
don't know, because sometimes some of the work that you see from the artist that survives is like their personal work that they just shot, and that was the stuff that people like the most. It was the mundane, you know.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Typically it's a larger body of work, and it's kind of put together more than just like going out and taking pictures of, like a model or just kind of like a kind of casual walk pictures or something. But I mean, I'd argue that most photography that matters is photography that's kind of looked at it in like a larger body of work or curated better than most. But I don't know. I think. In social media, uh, in like the social media age, we're all kind of chasing like likes and whatever. So like you're just
Hmm.
kind of doing that over and over, and so you kind of get wrapped up into randomness and trying to post more and stuff. But then I don't know. It seems kind of sometimes like not very meaningful and seems
I
kind of
mean, I feel like
silly.
if you do it for a while, maybe it could like improve a specific skill and make you feel better and stuff. But overall, you're saying it's not what's going to be remembered for. It's not going to be the work that you're going to be the most proud of. But sometimes
Yeah.
that's the
It's kind
work
of
that you
like
have to
yeah.
do over and over again to get good at something.
Yeah,
You know?
it's also kind of like I look back at my own personal YouTube channel and I look at any gear review video. I'm like, I don't care. But then I look at the videos where I was out shooting or I just shot some pictures or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm proud of that. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Well, speaking of which, let's talk about some gear. This
yeah.
weekend, I had a new second shooter come along with me, and for an engagement session, and I pulled a tilt shift lens out of my bag, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some cool shots here with this tilt shift lens." And she says, "What's a tilt shift lens?"
Yeah, how do you explain that?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting, you know. Like it come to my attention that some photographers don't use any of these specialty lenses, and most of them, when they're getting started, either have a few primes or a few zooms, and they don't get like a macro lens or a tilt shift lens or some crazy vintage lenses or some out there art lenses that are maybe more specific that you might not use as much
Yeah.
for your everyday life, but sometimes they come in really handy to make like a certain kind of artistic feel.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I know that you're kind of dedicated with your two lenses, but you've had some of these lenses in the past, right? Like you've owned a tilt shift
I've,
lens,
I've
and
had a tilt shift. I mean,
you've had some macro lenses. You
yeah,
played with some
macros.
crazy, like really nice portrait lenses that you wouldn't normally have, like Otis level, Milvis level kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So I mean, I think specialty lenses like I tend to shoot them for a while, and then I get bored of them and I find them gimmicky
Right,
after a
because
while.
they're good for a couple tricks, and like you just
Yeah.
learn those tricks, and then you have them in your bag sometimes if you want
Yeah,
to do that
and
trick,
like
but you can't rely
yeah,
on them. That's kind of why
and
they're
yeah, and it also kind of depends on your wedding and like what the background's like and stuff. So like
right.
if you're shooting at like a bad or not a bad venue, just a not very photogenic venue or something,
Or you
or
have like a busy background that's out of your
yeah,
control sometimes. Like sometimes there's something
yeah,
going on across the street from your venue that's out of your
right. So
hands.
so if you're like a mountain photographer, what are you going to use a tilt shift lens for in portraits? But if you're like
Right.
down in the city or
Yeah, I use it a lot more in
yeah
the city, I find.
yeah, like maybe 4 years ago, I had a reception at like a family's like Chinese restaurant, or it was like maybe Vietnamese or something. But um,
But like big family style, right?
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it just kind of looked like a typical like Chinese restaurant. And then so
Yeah, it's,
you walk outside, and we had to go do golden hour, and there was literally nothing outside. We were in a shopping mall,
yeah,
so
so it's gotta make it work, right?
yeah, yeah, and that's like the one instance I can think of. Like, wow, I'm like happy that I had the tilt shift
The tilt
for
shift
that
helps for
one.
that
yeah,
one, yeah, because
yeah,
you
because
could just make crazy
yeah, I
bokeh.
look
Like it's funny because
yeah,
initially a tilt shift lens was designed kind of for like, well, of course for architecture kind of photography, but also for like people who are doing product photography who like maybe they have a book where part of it goes this way, or they have some sort of item where part of it's this way, and they want to get the whole thing in focus on the frame. You could use a tilt shift lens for that. But a lot of us photographers who are artsy style, we do the opposite with it. Like we want
yeah,
that to be out of focus, so we can tinker with it a little bit to make entire fields go out of focus, which is kind of a
yeah.
fun trick. But you can't do it over and over and over again because it's just too stylistic, really,
It is,
to
yeah, and
use
it
for your
reminds
everyday
me,
lens.
yeah, kind of reminds me of like 2010 too.
Yeah, it definitely had a time when it was really popular too.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, you can use the what would this be? It would be the shift or the tilt this way if you're going up and down.
Like this way up and down, that would be
Oh, you're right. Yeah, this way up and down. So that would be shift.
that'd be shift, and then tilt would be like
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I think I normally use the tilt actually.
yeah.
And
So
then,
what I
and
have
yeah,
on my,
you can,
I actually don't have a tilt shift lens
yeah.
anymore. I just have a tilt adapter for a cool old lens that I have
Okay.
that'll just make it tilt.
Okay,
So like
cool. Can you
that's
flip
how
it
I am
like
too.
90?
Yeah, so you can turn it 360
Okay.
degrees, so you can have it any which way.
Yeah,
Flip it
yeah.
still.
For portraits, basically you can do a wide shot where the whole like top of the image is like
Yeah,
all
you
like
could just make that
you
all
can get like
bokeh.
crazy bokeh, like
Yeah,
crazy kind of like
it works really good
tilted
if you have
bokeh.
like a tree or a building or something like right above, and then right below it
Yeah.
goes on beyond.
And then if you want to go closer, then my move is always put them in like the left side of the frame and then tilt it this way, and then you
just
get
blow out the right
yeah,
side
then you get
or the
like
left side.
crazy tilted bokeh. Going
Yeah,
the
I
other
think
way.
those are kind of the two coolest effects that you would normally do with that. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I might frame up a whole person in it and just have like especially if they're wearing like a hat or a dress, and you can like make the hat go off into oblivion or something in Bokeh City.
Oh
That
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
looks
I've seen
kind of
one of
cool.
those
I've done
pictures that you've done.
Yeah, I've done some shots like that, but like I don't know, it is gimmicky. It's a gimmicky kind of thing to have, and you're gonna get a few shots from it. But if it's something you really like or your clients like, I mean,
Yeah,
tilt
yeah.
shift lenses can be had for a pretty reasonable price, especially if you buy like a used one nowadays. Or you could get something made by what is it, Lens Baby, I think makes like one that just kind of does that, but it's not. It just does the tilt bit. I think it's called a composer. I've never actually owned one of those, but they're relatively inexpensive.
I don't know if my burp was picked up or not, but it was probably pretty gross if it was. But
was that your response to the Lens Babies? You're not a big fan. I've had a few
yeah.
Lens Babies, but I've never had that one. The other Lens Baby stuff I had was the Velvet. Have you ever seen any of those pictures from the Velvet 56?
No.
That thing is wacky. It just makes like really soft looking images that kind of like glow. So it gives it kind of a vintage look, but it's a new lens. But it is about as soft as you could get, like wide open. It's not sharp at all. But it's also a cool vintage lens.
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
a couple new Canon tilt shifts, and I don't know. I mean, if you're shooting a tilt shift and doing some like crazy artsy stuff anyway, I don't know how sharp you really want it. But
Right, that's not really what you're looking for.
Yeah, totally. But I think that the new ones I've read are a little bit better. But all the other ones that I shot the 45 and the 90 for a bit too, and those ones were pretty soft. I mean, the 90 was pretty cool. I think 45 is kind of standard tilt shift, but then 90 was
and I
was
think we have a
135
different. As well. It's an F4. I've never had that one.
No,
actually, I've never owned any of those. The only one I owned was the
Yeah.
original Canon, which was the 35. And that was I think it was F2.8.
Yeah.
But I hacked that thing to work on the Canon EOS, like the EF mount.
Yeah, that one was
And
from
that one
like the
worked pretty
80s,
well.
right?
It was 70s even, like late
Yeah.
70s, early 80s. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
kind
one
of
looked
old,
good.
but it still made good pictures, and it was artsy. It kind of had the vintage look plus the tilt shift look, so you could kind of get
Yeah,
two
not
things
too
out of it.
expensive. I mean,
Yeah, and it was
yeah,
relatively
my
inexpensive.
45, I think I bought it used, and it was like 700
See,
or
that's kind of
$800.
pricey to get into something like that. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're shooting a mirrorless camera, though, they make a lot of adapters that do the tilt shift, and then you can just stick one of your old lenses on it. So, like, for me, it was like $50 for an adapter, and
Yeah.
I got a tilt shift. You know.
Yeah. So you called me this week, and you were like, "Dude, I got gas got me gear acquisition syndrome." So yeah.
Well, you know, it's the end of the season, or it's the start of the new season, and I like at the start of every new season, I like to kind of evaluate my equipment and look at what I do and stuff. So I was
Yeah.
exporting everything out of my catalogs for the year, and I was looking through all the photos I had taken, and out of 60,000 photos, I realized 20,000 of them were all shot with that 56 millimeter 1.2 lens, like way more than any other lens. Like to me, that's like my bread and butter, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, 85, man.
yeah, that 85,
Yeah.
that thing is killer. And then I have a couple other lenses that barely got any play, like I have the
You had a couple of backups, right? You had
yeah,
the 50?
the 23 millimeter, which is like the 35 equivalent of the f2. So
Yeah.
and I have that, and then I also have the 50 millimeter f2, which is like a 75-80 equivalent. And I didn't really use either of those lenses at all. I think both of them together, I was less than 2,000 pictures, which was like, I don't know, less than 5% of my photos. So, like, in my mind, those things are just shelf sitters, really. So I decided
it's not even worth it.
to ship those out and sell those ones off and pick up another 56. So Fuji makes two 56 millimeter 1.2 lenses. One that's the regular one, which is the one that I currently own, and then the one that I just acquired, as we were just discussing, which is an APD version. The APD version being aptization, which is a specialty lens, which we're kind of just talking about. So what it has is like a clear piece of plastic basically embedded in the lens that makes the bokeh a little softer on the outsides of the lens, and it kind of, I guess my understanding is it affects the autofocus, makes the autofocus a little slower, and it also the transmission of light isn't the same. So like you have to take into account that you don't get as much light through. So, but the bokeh balls that it makes are very softer, and it kind of softens out some of that round, harsh corners that sometimes you get when you're shooting in really like brightly lit backgrounds.
Yeah. So you don't like the bokeh on the G
Oh
Masters?
no, I don't really like the bokeh.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about that before, but
and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to leave Canon, because I switched over to their new 85-1.4, and all the bokeh was so round, and I was like, oh man, I just spent a fortune on this new lens, and I hate it.
Yeah, but the APD makes the bokeh softer and
makes it softer. But the thing is like,
so what's the difference between the G Master and then is it APD? Is that the correct term?
APD. So I think there are some APD G Master lenses too. Like they put that little.
They have the 100 like f2.8.
Yeah, I think they're trying to make because they have the same problem. Like their bokeh balls look so perfectly round, so they're trying to like soften it out a little too. But the thing is with the Fuji, like if you're shooting the 56-1.2, it doesn't look like that already. Like it already looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
But like what I realized in my mind is that's a more logical backup to have two of those lenses that I shoot like 30% of my wedding day photos on in case I have a problem. So to me, it just made more sense to have two of them. And since I was going to get a second one, I figured why not try the one that has the APD? Yeah. See if I like the bokeh better, see if it makes me happier. But in lower light situations, I'll probably, most of the time, once I'm like in that part of the night where I'm doing like reception or I'm doing like the darker part of the night, I usually don't shoot my 85 anymore anyway. I usually just switch over to a 24-50 setup.
Huh. Yeah, so I mean, it sounds to me like you got rid of some backup gear they didn't really use very much. So I mean,
for another backup, basically, but it has that one tweak.
I mean, your second shooter can use one of your 56s now, though. So that's
so that adds up too, right?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely have more pictures.
The same backup. So like if I dropped it, which I have a couple times, I've broken that lens twice now. I'd have another one in the car, in another bag,
Yeah, I've shot a lot of the Fuji lenses on some of your cameras. We were going around doing some like real world stuff about a year ago.
In my opinion.
But yeah, I mean, it's like the only lens that I remember trying out that I did not really like was it was like an f2.50, I think. Yeah. And like it sounds to me like
it's got a lot of sharpness, but the bokeh isn't as good. Because if you think about the f2 on the crop sensor, it's more like a 2.8 or 3.2. Like it's not quite.
Yeah, and so
bokeh,
so if your 56 went down, I know it went down like once this year. If it went down again, then you just have the other 56.
Right, so it'd still be
But
covered.
yeah, but I mean, I can see how like I don't like to spend very much money on backup gear, but
Yeah, but I rely on that thing so much that to me it's
yeah.
worth having to.
But if I had a lens that was 3.2, like
Right, that's the thing.
yeah,
Like if your 85
if my
broke
85
and then your
broke,
backup was a 3.2,
yeah,
you'd be like,
I
oh
might be in
man,
trouble.
this
I
is
just
gonna be
kind
a
of
tricky wedding.
yeah, it depends on the wedding. So I
Depends on the
definitely
wedding. Yeah.
I shoot wide open quite a bit, and so if it was like a dark ceremony, dark reception, I'd be disappointed. Or if it was like just something where I wanted to blur out a lot of stuff in the
Right,
background,
yeah,
or we had
that's
a
the
lot
thing
of
is you need that.
distractions at a ceremony.
A
Or
lot of
something.
people think it's funny because a lot of people think that you need the lower light, the faster lenses.
Yeah.
But a lot of times in wedding photography, you don't need that. It's just because you're like you have to make these pretty images all the time, where you're in scenarios that you have absolutely no control in.
Yeah, for sure.
So having that faster aperture isn't even so much about letting in the light as it is like making bokeh and blurring out distracting elements in the real world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, ideally, like you want to shoot every wedding on like at like 12,000 feet on some like hill or something, but that's not the.
Right,
And so
that
like
never really
yeah,
happens rarely.
right. So you'd want to be shooting at f4.5. I mean, Instagram would make you think that it happens all the time, but that's typically just curated work, and people
Yeah,
are
I
shooting
mean,
all sorts of different
I might
weddings.
shoot that kind of thing once a year or once every couple of years. Like that doesn't happen very often. But you have these other weddings in the city a lot. Like I definitely shoot a lot of like downtown Denver weddings, and I find that like especially on Saturday nights there are people everywhere, and like there's distractions, and as well intentioned as some people might be, just yell, "Hey, congratulations." I don't want them in the pictures, like
Yeah, right.
that's all. So yeah. So having that faster lens really makes a difference. And now I have another specialty lens, so to speak. So like that autofocus wouldn't be quite as good. So if I did break the 56, like the just regular version, I'd be handicapped in a slight way, and that the autofocus wouldn't be as fast. But I usually use that setup in better light anyway. So to me, it wouldn't really be that much of a. I thought it through pretty thoroughly, and I think it's pretty safe.
Yeah,
bet.
it's kind of a trade-off, but I don't know.
That's a part of photography. You're
Yeah.
always giving up something for something else, and like if you could have it one way, but also have it another way.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, you might lose like half a stop of light or something, and have like,
A little slower autofocus. I've heard some people say that if you get that APD version,
Yeah.
that because of the clear plastic in it, that the phase detection autofocus doesn't work, and it just relies on contrast.
really.
But I don't know if that's true or not. I gotta
Huh.
play with that and test that and see if that's true. I haven't gotten the lens
Yeah.
mail yet, but once it arrives, I'm gonna.
I don't know.
Definitely tinker with
Typically everything is kind of overblown on the internet, and so it's like
it'll probably be
it's
totally
really
usable.
yeah, it's hard to know. Like people are so nitpicky, and like they're arguing or typing about these little minute details that probably don't matter very much at all,
Right.
or really like
And the
affect you in, like,
apodization
real-
filter is one of those things. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you look at a couple pictures together, like most people who aren't photographers are going to be like, "What's the difference?" Like I showed
Yeah.
them to my wife, and she's been into photography a little bit, and I'm like, "Oh, look at this and look at this," and she's
Yeah.
like, "They're the same, right?" And I'm like, "They're not the same. This
Yeah.
looks so much better." And like, I feel like if you buy something like that, you're buying it for yourself. It's not going to make a difference to your clients, and like you have to realize that you're spending that extra money just to make your I don't know, yourself pleased. Like those photos make you look or feel happier because you can look at it and be like, this is the best bokeh I could have gotten out of this shot, and I squeezed every inch out of it, and I feel so happy about it. But most other people are gonna be like, they look the same.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee that clients wouldn't really notice it, and
Yeah.
most photographers
Rarely.
probably, but
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is it's like most photographers.
yeah. So it
wouldn't
really
notice
has to be for yourself. I mean, I think for me personally, maybe 5 years ago, like it felt cool to post something on Flickr, be like, I shot it with this.
Yeah, I had
and then,
this and this. I had this amazing
Yeah.
piece of equipment, and I made this photo with it. But now it
But-
doesn't really even matter.
Yeah,
It's not even
yeah.
about that.
I don't know. Yeah, there's so much noise and so many photographers shooting,
Yeah.
whatever.
And
lens
like
or
everybody
whatever.
thinks of every crazy combination out there. It's not like you're so creative that you came up with the one way to ever shoot this crazy thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So you
yeah.
have to like realize that and realize that it's part of it. Like maybe if you're really into gear and having a bunch of different equipment and changing stuff around is part of photography and part of making that picture that you're so proud of. But there's
Yeah,
also other
yeah.
things that go to play, like composition and
Yeah, it
the
kind
right
of just
lighting
depends
and
on
an
if you're
interesting subject,
yeah.
etc.
I feel like the extra $200 to $300 is worth it if it made you excited to shoot the lens.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is like otherwise it'd just be a backup because it's the same as the one I already have. So like there's no more excitement in it. You're just like
yeah.
it's another one of what I already got.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I look back at like my Flickr feed. I was looking at that a couple days ago, and it was just like I'm looking at this feed. I'm like, all these photos are just me like trying out lenses, like literally like.
Right, that's really what it is all
Yeah,
about. It's like just I
yeah.
got to go make a shoot so I
Yeah,
can try out
so
this equipment to see if I want to keep it or not.
yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I did that for five years with that before I like ever like
I
kind
feel like
of.
some photographers do that forever. Some
Yeah,
photographers might do that for a week or two and be like, cool, I'm
yeah.
happy enough with this. I'm gonna go out and make whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. When I first got into photography, I just had like one lens. I wasn't into gear at all. Like I was like, oh,
And then you started reading my blog, and that
I
got
did.
hooked. I got you hooked on the
Yeah,
on
actually.
the camera. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was trying to figure out wedding photography, and then I went to your blog on your website, and then you reviewed all the Canon
Yeah,
lenses.
I had a
and
lot
then,
of lenses at that.
Yeah,
Well, I was an engineer with 6-figure salary, so buying lenses was nothing. You know, I had a lot of them.
yeah. But yeah, and then you like, and I was just trying to kind of figure out the wedding photography gear and stuff, and then you like kindly like showed me like all your lenses over at your apartment, and I was like, oh man, I need all this stuff. Like,
Yeah, I gotta
yeah,
get what Matt's got the sweet shit.
yeah, man.
I definitely had way more kit than I needed, but if I didn't have that big paying job before I got like switched to photography, there's no way I would have had all that stuff. Like it just wouldn't have made any sense. You know what I mean? And right now I still have a big kit, but because it's like Fuji, it's all like half the price of like what Canon lenses used to cost. You know what I mean? So it's not
Yeah.
nearly as expensive to own and to operate and stuff. So it makes a lot more sense from a working photographer perspective. Because like if you have a day job and you're just doing this for fun on the side, like you can afford to have whatever you can afford. Like it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing it just solely to make money, well, not solely. I mean, it still brings you happiness. But you're doing it to make money and to feed yourself. You really have to think about what you have versus what you need and what makes sense and what's getting in the way and what's not.
Is the gear really going to make you excited? Is it going to make you make better photos?
Yeah,
or,
exactly. And if you have a big lens kit
Yeah.
and you're shooting it with Lightroom, and at the end of the year you could do like me and you could look through your metadata and see stuff that you use and stuff you don't use, you could probably just from that glance decide what to get rid of and what to get more of.
Yeah. That's
For sure.
one reason I decided to go with the baddest line, because I looked at how often I shot under f2 with all the Canons and stuff, and it's hardly ever. So like at 1.8, I'm good at 85, and then I don't really
save
look
the weight. Why not just
like
save the
pretty
weight?
bokeh at like 25 millimeters or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
so why not just save a little weight? You know?
yeah,
I
for
think that's
sure.
a good way to go.
But yeah, I mean, another way to look at gear too is like, so every piece of gear that you end up purchasing for yourself, it's putting more stress on you and your business. So you're gonna have to book more weddings. You're gonna have to
you have to work harder to keep it.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is you have to realize if it's worth it or not. But getting back to the conversation of specialty lenses and the APD lenses, I've had a few other APD lenses actually in the past. I've had that Laowa 105 f2. And I've looked back through some photos that I made with that thing on a couple of shoots, and I really liked it a lot. The reason I got rid of it is because it was on a DSLR body. And because it was on a DSLR body, it's kind of hard to use manual focus, harder than like a mirrorless camera. So I kind of did away with that lens, but I'm excited to have another APD lens that can make that kind of cool kind of shot. So there's some other specialty lenses that we sometimes own as well, like vintage lenses, like lenses that were made. I don't know. I have vintage lenses going back to like the 30s, like, and you own even a few vintage lenses, even though they're not part of your kit per se, right?
Yeah. I have one lens that I've only shot in Thailand, basically. So like I have like one vintage Leica lens that I am working on like a project with too. So
so why do you have that one lens for that versus just shooting your regular kit?
Because I wanted I was really inspired by this photographer. I'm probably gonna butcher his name like every single
you're a name butcher.
I am. So I think his name is it's Fang Ho or Ho Fang, and
oh, I've seen that guy's photos. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I've seen that guy's photos.
But yeah, he has all these photos from like the 50s and 60s in China, and he sort of and they sort of have this look. They have like an old world type of look, and I really wanted that look, and so I just adapted like an old Leica lens that really like Henry Cartier-Bresson would have used.
What focal distance is it?
It's like 50 millimeters. 50? Yeah, it's weird.
It's like a 53.5. Is that what it is?
I don't know. They call it 5 cm or whatever. So it's
a 50.
Is that what that means?
Well, that's centimeters, and like 50 millimeters would really just be 5 centimeters.
Yeah, it was like before they started
doing millimeters.
But yeah, it has
so it's oldie.
Yeah, it has a cool look though. And, it only has like a couple of lens elements in it, and it just kind of like has this sort of um, airy character to it. So
Yeah, that's what I like about my old vintage lenses because I shoot
yeah,
like I don't know, I have like 5 or 6 vintage lenses that I shoot pretty regularly, and like that's what I'll do with them. I'll take them out as specialty lenses that are gimmicky. Like I know I'm only going to get 3 or 4 shots out of some of them,
hmm
but that's okay. It adds to the total representation of photos I'm gonna present to my client.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
part of the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that there's some reasons to own specialty lenses, especially if you're a pro and you can afford to have a bigger kit and you want to have some more glass. But if you're just getting started, like you don't need to have it. Lots of photographers that second shoot for me all the time come along without any of that stuff, and they
yeah.
do great pictures.
Or if you just don't want to deal with the thought process of do I want to use this lens, do I want to use
Right,
that lens, and just focus on your images and posing and all that
right.
other stuff.
Get the gear out of the way a little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. That's kind of my methodology for client work nowadays.
yeah, cool.
But yeah, let's take a break and get into news. Real quick before I forget, I kind of got my second Instagram feed going, so it's at Nick J Sparks on Instagram. So if you're listening to this, go check it out. Photo Footage is currently on break. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you every Sunday for a new Photo Footage podcast. Now back to Photo Footage. This is probably the third time we've been talking about Flickr, huh? So
Man, Flickr changed owners, and they have been changing things, shaking it up, making it more expensive.
they can't really figure out how to make money, and it's all these photography services, and it's kind of sad. It's just like Instagram's there, and it's the one that all the normal people go to, and like
Right.
Facebook has figured out how to monetize that in a good way, and then 500 pixels, Flickr are just kind of there on the side, and then they're just trying to figure out how to pay
Make
some
it
people,
work, how to make
yeah,
money,
pay some
yeah.
employees, I guess, and so yeah,
I mean,
the
I love
price went
Flickr,
up.
and the price went up, and I still paid them, and I will continue to pay them for the foreseeable
Yeah,
future because I like the service. But it's a bummer that it's happening because maybe more people
mm,
won't join.
yeah. I mean, they raised it by $10. I mean, you gotta
Yeah, it's not that
wonder
bad.
how much that's really helping, but yeah, I
Well, I
mean,
mean, you got 20 million pros. That helps a lot.
yeah. So there's 20 million pros. Is that like
Oh,
a
I don't
real?
know how many
Oh,
pros
okay.
there are,
I
but
was
there's
gonna say,
I don't know. There's a lot of
yeah,
people on Flickr. I think there's in the millions.
yeah. Kind of seems like photography, social media that's only tailored towards photographers, like geeky people searching lenses and stuff. Should mostly,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe
it's
these
mostly for
companies.
pro photographers who are
Yeah,
just obsessive.
yeah, if I was running one of these companies, I would start to think of ways to scale back and like without like having to monetize quite as much. So maybe if they could just
Well,
scale
Flickr's trying
back,
to like use some synergies that they have now
yeah,
that they're owned by SmugMug, and I know
yeah,
that like they have a deal if you're a Flickr Pro that
hmm
you can get like a half off of your first year in SmugMug or something. So they're trying to bring a bunch of those pros to their other platform to help make money, which is cool. But like
yeah. Do you think Flickr's gonna be dead? I mean, I
they
can see
should
it.
find other ways to make those two things work together. Is what I think. Is like other ways where you could take the social media aspect and your like professional aspect and combine them together and make more synergies that us pros would want. I don't know exactly what that is, but that's the
Yeah,
way they should be thinking, I would think. If you're going to have those two kind of companies, SmugMug and Flickr, if you're going to own them and merge them together, you'd have to have some synergies out of it, right?
yeah. I mean, I can't help but to think that like companies like Flickr, even though it's owned by SmugBug and 500 Pixels, they're not financially viable, and it just kind of shows over and over. Seems like every time we talk about 500 Pixels or Flickr, it's always this kind of like mad news, like it's kind of like almost like bad news every time, just because they're either like writing like weird things into the terms of service, or they're just trying to figure out how to monetize more, and it's some
Trying to make money,
yeah,
trying
and
to stay
then
afloat.
yeah, it's kind of
A
weird.
long time, though, for a very long time, Flickr
Yeah.
was owned by Yahoo, and Yahoo just probably just paid the bills, kept them lights on because they have a lot of money. It was easy for them to. But then when they sold them
Yeah.
to SmugMug, SmugMug doesn't make Yahoo kind of money, so they're trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder, is there some sort of way that's viable for maybe just like a new company to come along and make like a new model? I mean, like the hosting really can't be like that expensive. I mean, Backblaze, like you can get like a backup service like Backblaze, upload 20 terabytes of data to their servers every year and use that as like a backup and I think they charge like $50
Yeah,
a
but you
year.
couldn't do that with like people's photos that they depended on. You'd have to run that infrastructure.
Um,
I'm sure SmugMug has their own servers so that they run all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just saying like the server cost like can't be that expensive if Backblaze is able to host like 20 terabytes of images and have it all backed up too and like be able to
I think that they
for
say
like
20 terabytes. And there
50
are
bucks a
some
year.
users that probably get 20
No,
terabytes.
it's unlimited. So
Well, no, I'm not saying
yeah.
that it's not. What I'm just saying is most
Yeah.
people don't use it to that capacity.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, same with Flickr too. I mean, I can't imagine anybody even has a terabyte of JPEGs up there. I don't know.
I have a lot of pictures on Flickr though.
Yeah, but yeah, so it can't really cost that much to run one of these. Maybe there's like some other way to do it. Maybe like maybe like a smaller co-op type of photography website where
It's hard to say because like if these big companies can barely keep them alive, how is a small co-op going to do it? They have to. I feel like SmugMug was smart by buying them, and then they have to find a way to make synergies that make sense that photographers want. So we want to pay them for one of their services, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I like Flickr. I hope that it stays up there just because I
like them both. I like
yeah.
SmugMug and Flickr. I use them both. So I guess we'll see what happens over time.
Yeah, there's good groups in Flickr, and there's lenses that you can't really find on like Instagram, and you can't like zoom into images and stuff. So
there's a lot of information there.
Is photography?
It's like a giant Rolodex of every picture ever taken with every camera ever and lens combo. Like you can just figure out so much from Flickr. There's so much there, and it's been
Is photography dying? Like, is it just like a symptom of maybe just so many people taking images and stuff that people just don't care about, like the sites like Flickr and not SmugMug, 500 pixels? I mean,
I don't think so because Instagram is alive and well more than ever. So I think that people still like pictures, but maybe they don't care. Maybe there's not as many pro photographers as there used to be. But it seems to me like there's more and there's more and there's more. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah,
it's hard to say. But hopefully they'll come up with some sort of system that works that makes them more more profitable in the future, so they can stay alive.
Yeah. Hopefully
keep servicing us. Yeah, we like it.
Out.
So anyway, what else is new in the news today? Flickr, back at it.
Seems like it's just going to be photographers posting their 1080 pixel images to Instagram, and then you're just only going to be able to look at it on your phone, and like they don't even have an iPad app and stuff. It's kind of just weird. I mean, like,
but it's less about photography. I mean, people do still like the pictures, obviously. That's what makes it popular, but it's less about like the craft, you know? It's more just about pictures.
Yeah, right.
That people are like,
do you think that's good or bad?
I mean, it just becomes, to me, it becomes noise. But I mean, like, photographers are a very small segment of the population, so they don't really cater to us too much. But there are sites like Flickr that do, so keeping them alive is great. That's why I continue to pay the service fees, even though they are growing year by year.
All right, so we got the GF 80mm f1.7. We both had the GFX for a bit, so we can talk about this a little bit.
1.7. That'll make it the very fastest medium format lens ever made, I think.
Yeah.
I want to say at one point I had a 1.9. That was pretty fast, but colors weren't that great. It was an old vintage lens.
Yeah. Is this exciting or boring? I mean, this is
to me, it's pretty interesting. The trouble still with that whole system though is the autofocus. But I guess if you had the newer one, the 100.
Yeah,
I guess it has
what is it called? The GF 100, GFX 100 or whatever.
GFX 100S. Maybe?
Yeah, it has phase detection.
But yeah, it has some phase detection, so that might work out a little better. But on the original GFX 50 and maybe the 50S and the R, autofocus is kind of the weakness there. So I don't know. Maybe it could still focus well at 1.7 at 80. I don't know. It's hard to know. But so what would that focal distance be though? Like an 80 would be like 65, 63.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty interesting. Like, there's not too many lenses in history that focal distance, so that part all by itself would be interesting. And then it being really, really, really bokeh heavy.
Yeah, it'd be the compression of like an 85, but then just quite a bit wider. That was always the cool thing about
be a little wider.
Shooting medium format. Like if you shoot 55, then you're getting 43, but then you're getting the compression of like a little bit longer than 50.
But you're getting bokeh more than f1 at that point, right? I mean,
at 1.7, I don't know. What do they say that the 110 millimeter f2? What do they say that is? Like a 1 point.
It's like a f1, f1.2.
F1.2. Yeah.
That's a f2, and this is at 1.7, so it's probably pretty fast. Probably a lot of bokeh out of that thing.
Yeah. Would you rather own? I mean, it's just we don't really know anything about it. We haven't seen
like if I was gonna pick up another GFX system and I was gonna go do the GFX thing again, I might consider that lens with the R. Like that'd be a pretty sweet little Like if you're, because I probably wouldn't own a whole bunch of lenses for it, and as a portrait photographer, that'd be interesting. The 110 is really big. It's really big and really heavy and really expensive, and it has a lot of parts in it. And I feel like when I would move it, I could feel it moving around, and it kind of made me feel like I was going to destroy that really nice, expensive lens all the time. So like I don't think I'd purchase that lens again. And I did like the 63 though.
Yeah, the 63 is pretty nice.
Which would be like a 50mm equivalent.
Yeah.
It was pretty good, but it was a 2.8 lens, and the focus on it, like when it would autofocus, it would go outside of the lens. Do you know if this one's going to focus internally or if it's going to move around?
Yeah, I don't know actually. It doesn't
have
really
any of those
say
specs,
yet.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they have. I
roadmap,
remember them saying that they were going to build something like that a couple of seasons ago. I thought it was going to be a 80-1.4. I guess that was a little too fast. But 1.7.
Yeah. I mean, another great alternative.
1.7 is kind of a cheat, right? I think 1.8 is 1.7, 1.8 are kind of a cheat.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but and I think another great option, what I did with the GFX is I just adapted like a full frame lens and manually focused. The viewfinder on it is really it's really big. It's like the only viewfinder I've been able to actually like confidently like hit focus every time with. So
that one and the Leica
that's
Q
something
both
nobody
had
really
those really nice viewfinders.
Yeah, it's something nobody really talks about because like there are sharp viewfinders in Fuji's and Sony's and stuff, like they're high DPI, but they're just not big enough.
Yeah, it's big in there. Like you look in there and you can see.
You can see exactly where the focus is. Like you can like focus in.
Yeah, you rarely have to zoom in on that.
Like, on a pupil
compared. Manual focus.
Yeah, you can even see like a eyelash out of focus, which is crazy. And then, yeah, what I always liked about adapting the full frame to it is like it had a bunch of full frame lens to it was that it had a bunch of imperfections. So you got like more vignetting on it, and then you got like these like kind of smears on the edges too. So it had this really cool kind of artsy look. And yeah, I mean, I think like there's so many like technically good lenses that it's kind of boring at this point. So
yeah, but the thing is like so a lens like that, like the 80mm 1.7, when that comes out, that's going to be made to render like the detail you could get out of the 100S, which is like it's going to be crazy sharp, right? Like it's got to be crazy sharp to be able to render that much image.
People
out of
who review it on YouTube and DP review and stuff, they're going to love it.
So like that part of it is really interesting. So if you bought a lens like that, you'd have it for a while, knowing that eventually maybe you could the GFX 50S and 50R, like that model, the cheaper model of medium format, will eventually incorporate phase detection, and then it'll be a sweet setup.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it would be. It's kind of more unique to introduce imperfections in a lens sometimes, just because.
Absolutely, especially if it's something like that. That's like a portrait lens. That portrait lens, the portrait photographers are going to use because we want some imperfections. We don't want it to be perfect always.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think perfect is boring in a way. Like, I can't really think of like one photo book that I own where there's not some blurry pictures in it. Perfect. There's not, sometimes
that tells the story, the artistic perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I always think of Sally Mann's Southern Landscapes. If she shot those on like a modern camera, they would all just be whack pictures.
But all of her stuff was like giant format, though, like huge cameras, right?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, at least the landscapes.
Yeah, with and what makes the southern landscapes like have kind of like soul or whatever, kind of the imperfections from like all these weird little things going on. How there's vignetting on it, how there's
that's what you look for.
Yeah, so when I shot the full frame lens on the GFX and adapted it and stuff too, I was looking at a lot of Sally Mann at the time, and I loved how there was a little bit of extra vignetting and there was corner smearing, so I was kind of emulating that a little bit.
And what's nice about that kind of stuff now is like Lightroom and post-production has come so far that you can emulate or fake a lot of that stuff still. Like you can put that on in post after the fact if you wanted to, and you can make it look a little different or kind of change it up in that kind of style, especially if you wanted to add vignetting or something like that. I think what's really interesting about that new lens is just that they wanted to make something that was faster than what's come before. You know what I mean? And it's cool that it has some imperfections too. Like I like that.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, the company is chasing the next best thing like all the time, and they got to constantly try to, one up themselves.
Push the envelope a little, Try to put their engineering team to the max, and that's one of those things that you don't realize from Fuji if you're not a Fuji user and you haven't been like obsessed with Fuji over the years. But they make some really, really good glass for cinema. Like some of their cinema stuff is like amazing. Like they make like there's Fuji lenses out there that cost $100,000+. So they have a lot of knowledge in how to make these really high end optics, and they, it's trickle down for them, the photography portion.
I just almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah, man. Hold on tight.
Yeah, that's
We're
exciting
talking about
stuff.
Fuji gear.
But yeah, I mean, so camera manufacturers are going to keep on, coming out with lenses that are a little bit
Yeah, just
faster or
trying to push the
whatever.
envelope.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why
It's
they're
kind of
trying to do the F1 thing on the
yeah.
X line.
I mean,
You know,
yeah.
it's the
Maybe
same kind
maybe
of
do
thing.
something different. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. Don't follow the newest thing. Maybe look at like other older lenses or just try to think about how you could do things just a little bit different or
Well, I
something.
feel like if you're trying to do something a little bit different, then
Mm.
maybe getting that 81.7 is the way to go, because that lens isn't going to be something that's going to be owned by that many people. You know what I
Maybe.
mean? Like that's going to be used by professionals, or I don't know, like very well off people that have a lot of extra money to throw towards their hobby. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's going to be a serious camera, like a serious lens. Like that's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if you're trying something like
In
that,
a way
there's not
too.
going to be as
Yeah.
many people using it. Therefore, your pictures will seem more unique in a way.
Somewhat. I mean, how many
You
people
know?
just blow out backgrounds with bokeh all the time? You can do that on so many lenses.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same
sure.
type of thing. You're probably just going to be shooting the same sort of blown out bokeh stuff.
Yeah, but it's going to be more interesting because you're going to shoot it at 65 millimeters, which isn't something you normally would do.
Yeah. I mean,
And you're going to have that. I mean, in my opinion, that's an interesting lens for sure. And it's
yeah,
interesting in two ways. In that I could still consider it as an art lens, in like that I would want to shoot it with my art gear, but also it could be a pro lens because it has the autofocus. It's just that the GFX or earlier versions of the GFX, the 50 versions, the contrast only detection isn't really good enough for all your photography needs as far as autofocus goes, in my opinion. I mean, some photographers could probably get away with it, but for me on a wedding day, I want something that I know is reliable and can totally work.
yeah. Um, I don't know. Maybe just my advice to anybody looking at this lens, maybe hold on to your lenses and just ask yourself, like, what could I really do with this lens compared to whatever sort of 1.4 lens you had or whatever before you
Or if
look at
maybe you
it.
were thinking about like jumping into the GFX system and you weren't going to get it because you didn't like any of the lenses, and this is the right lens for you, now might be the time to do it.
Yeah. Maybe if the 110 had too much compression for you
I
and
definitely
you
felt like the
wanted to go
110 was
with an
sweet,
80.
but it was just big and heavy. Like having owned that lens, like I liked it a lot, and I liked the pictures out of it a lot. It was just cumbersome to use, and a lot of the times I would
That
favor
lens
the
was
smaller lens
yeah,
for
that
sure.
lens was really sharp. I remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
Yeah,
competes with Otis sharpness. Like it's good.
yeah. It seems like 100 millimeters on medium format. The Pentax 90 millimeter is also really good. It's 2.8, but it definitely had a lot of good things going for that
Yeah,
too.
so I'm sure this lens will be outstanding. I'm sure
Yeah,
one day I will get my hands on it to play with it. But
yeah,
until then, it's in
yeah,
the future.
yeah.
One day.
Go buy this lens and then just shoot bokeh.
Well, it's not actually out
Yeah,
yet. This is just
yeah,
specs, right? What if?
yeah,
What if one day
yeah,
there was a Fuji 80 millimeter f1.7?
yeah.
Nick would tell you not to buy it and to go on vacation. But me, I don't know. Seems like a pretty interesting thing to own. If you have that
Yeah,
camera and you're a portrait shooter, probably couldn't go wrong with it, in my opinion.
yeah. I can't think of any trip that I did pictures on that I regret, but I definitely regret a lot of my gear purchases and look back at all that stuff. So,
Yeah, I hear you. Anyway, anything
um,
else coming out and anything else new in the world?
yeah,
I
man,
heard that.
more gear talk here. We
Oh
got
yeah.
got a Leica 40 megapixel M10 Monochrom,
Hmm.
and so it's one of those interesting sensor arrays
It's
again.
just black and white.
Yeah, just black and white, and so everything is a little bit sharper. You get about a stop more light. So yeah, interesting stuff. I
If you're
think
a black and white lover, like I don't know why you wouldn't own that camera. Like the Leica black and white just looks so good to me.
yeah,
Like
check
that
this
is
out.
yeah, that was just fantastic. Such a
Yeah,
good looking
yeah.
setup.
So I guess the interesting thing about this camera is that it's not the same sensor as like the other M10s, and it's not the
What is
same.
it? They have
It's
like a 26 megapixel or
yeah, I
something.
think it's like 24 or 26 in the M10.
24.
Yeah,
So it's like
so
almost twice
yeah,
as
so
big.
it's 40
40.
and it's even sharper than something that's 40 megapixels because of the sensor, like the
And you
way that
got the
things.
Leica glass, so like that can
Yeah,
obviously resolve some
yeah. So
insane
that's
amount
like
of
zoomed in like
yeah, like an insane amount of
400%.
detail.
Yeah.
So
So
that
yeah,
sounds
it's
like a
pretty
real
cool.
interesting camera.
Yeah, I mean, looking through these images, straight out of camera, everything does look a little bit flat. So whatever's kind of going on in the sensor, I think you probably want to do a lot of editing to these black and whites anyway. And I think a lot of the appeal to the Leica monochrome camera would be like getting it right in camera, hopefully shooting a JPEG and not shooting RAW. I think for a lot of people, I mean, that's what I would probably try to do if I had one of these. I'd want to get everything mostly right in camera because you're just kind of stuck there in black and white. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, just like
Yeah, if
looking
you were
through
gonna
the
use
stuff.
that like as a
Yeah,
personal like capture life in black and white sort of thing, that'd be a fun thing to do maybe for a few years. Like just something. These were the few years I was just shoot everything in black and white. But I don't know, like as a professional, I could never just own a camera like that. But I can understand
yeah,
why like you would if you were really ingrained in a specific
yeah,
art style,
yeah.
and
Why
that was
not?
like what you did, and you
Yeah,
were black
yeah.
and white.
Or you're just a niche photography shop who shoots only
Yeah,
black and
just
white.
shoots the
That's a
black and
cool idea.
whites.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
go.
I would definitely consider that camera if that was something I did for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So maybe somebody out there will buy this crazy Leica black and white camera and just go start a photography business. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
just
don't
do
know what
something a little
else
bit
you would
different.
use that thing for. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe it would get some
yeah. I've
use
been
like
watching.
in some magazine work or some travel work or something.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
yeah. I've been watching all these shows on a Vice YouTube channel called Munchies, and there's
Is
all
that a
these.
Colorado thing?
No, no, it's just like a Vice like food network. It's like a YouTube channel, but
But do you watch it because of Colorado?
oh no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't smoke weed,
Oh, okay.
but I quit that a while ago. But yeah, nothing against smoking weed. A lot of photographers do smoke weed. Yeah,
Truth be told.
yeah. Um, but yeah, like in this series, they go through all these different pizza shops, right? And there's so many different types of pizza shops. And so I was like kind of like watching this, and there's like these people who make like a Chicago dish, or people who add this certain topping or add this certain like thing to the tomato sauce and stuff. And I'm kind of looking at all these, and I'm like, man, photographers are kind of boring. Like it's like a lot of photographers are all kind of trying to do the same thing, trying to make the same Instagram image. And
Well,
so
they're trying to copy others' success, I think.
yeah, yeah. I
I think
mean,
people do that in food too. Like that's why there's recipes. But there's also
yeah,
very creative people who do
yeah,
whatever they want.
yeah. And so I mean, if you're trying to be like an artist, I think it's more interesting and fulfilling it. But yeah, I was like looking at these guys really into pizza, and they're just like obsessing over the way that they did this or the way they did that, and like they're really trying to create something a little bit different. I wish there was just more of that in photography too. I mean, how many people are going to buy a Maston preset, slap that on top of their picture, and just try to do the same thing that every other photographer is
Right,
doing?
right. And that's
Yeah.
part of what I was talking about earlier today in the first part of the portion is like having some specific lenses that might shake it up, that might make things interesting, that might make you
But
do
but is
things
the
differently.
yeah is the gear going to make it more interesting,
Sometimes,
or is it going to be your posing, like
sometimes,
your bravery?
sometimes.
Yeah,
It could be any of those things, man. And it's important to realize that it could be. And maybe you're obsessing about gear too much, but maybe you're not obsessing about gear enough. If you've done all these other things and you're in love with your lighting and you love the way your poses are and your locations and stuff, but you still feel like there's something missing, then maybe gear is the answer. It's just
yeah,
it's so there's so many different aspects of photography that you have to consider.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if like my favorite photographer is my favorite photographer because of the gear. Like I just don't.
Right, but like we said earlier, like if you were to be stuck on a f4 lens all day, you wouldn't be able to get the kind of images that you would want as say you had an f2 lens all day.
Yeah, but
So
I mean
there's some
that's
equipment that
that's
could
like
push you
a
further.
that's like a big general thing, and that's only like one like so like I feel like a lot of times photographers are arguing about really really minute things where like you look at an image from like 30 years ago or whatever, and like all the images kind of look like the same. Like the gear all from that time kind of looks the same. And then like when we're in modern day though, we're obsessing over the newest thing, and we're just kind of looking at these like really really minute details, and it doesn't really like affect anything that much. And so like a 1.8 compared to like a f4 or something, like yeah like you can make bokeh, but like
It makes
but
a
I mean like
sizable difference though. Like if you didn't
yeah
have an f2 lens and you mastered these other aspects of photography to your fullest at this point in your career, then maybe getting a better lens would be the right move. Or if you
yeah
had a camera that couldn't shoot past 800 ISO,
yeah that's one
maybe you'd
yeah.
need that. You know what I mean?
The thing is though is that's one thought that's actually going to make a difference, and like people obsess over this stuff for like years and years and years, and like So it's like one day of thinking that all you really needed for that one type of thing that would actually make the difference.
Yeah, but you shouldn't bottle yourself up and say that it maybe gear isn't the solution just because you've already found all of your gear that you think is perfect for you. You know what I mean? Like because for some people, that search is never going to be over. Like I'm never going to stop searching for the perfect piece of gear, and I'm never going to find it. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't exist. That's why I have a whole wall of it. Because like I just need a bunch of different stuff for the way I do my photography. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just different for different people. For sure.
Yeah.
But some people might want to consider a different gear. But if you have the right stuff, or you have a kit that you've been shooting for years and you love, yeah, maybe try some new processes. Maybe try doing some new techniques that you haven't done in the past. Maybe go try and shoot some Brennizers or do something wacky that you haven't ever tried before. You know, shoot something different just to shake it up. And maybe don't spend the money on new equipment.
Some of the most interesting pizza things that I learned about were like the way that the like an oven cooks a pizza, right? So like some of the most actually like interesting things that were happening to the pizzas were just in the way that the like they would have like an old oven, right? So there'd be like a oven from like 1950 or something, and that oven had been in that restaurant for so long, and nobody could replicate the pizza because of that like same oven that they'd been doing like over and over and over again. And also it looked like I think some of the best like and most highly rated pizza had been made the same way for like 60 years, like in the same oven. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I was thinking about that.
I mean, there's a couple of schools of thought. Like you could either just be like that and you just use the same stuff forever and you just got ingrained in the process, or you could be trying the new cutting edge pizza place that makes it with lasers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different ways to do everything.
Yeah, don't be the Little Caesars of photography.
Be the Little Caesars of photography.
Yeah,
that is sound advice from your friend Nick here at Photo Footage.
Yeah, I was looking at this. It was a soulless. So like the guy went into the headquarters of Little Caesars and it was like they went.
Are we
in
gonna
there.
link this in the description so people can watch the show? Yeah, you're talking about.
Oh, sure.
We
yeah,
should
or just look up Munchie's The Pizza Show, and yeah, and so it was just a bunch of corporate people arguing over how much the cheese was going to cost and how like viable arugula was to like a larger audience and stuff.
And like as photographers who own our own business, we have to think about that a little. But we're fortunate that we don't have to spend too much time figuring out like, is this going to cost too much to do it this way? Is it going to cost too much to do it that way? Like we figure out what works for us, and we tend to kind of pile on that. You know what I mean? But we don't have people telling us, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you can't use this, or you can't use that. You know what I mean? As independent photographers that own our own businesses, we get a lot more freedom maybe than these pizza guys who have the corporate overlords.
Well, yeah, just people at Little Caesars compared to like a small shop in Brooklyn or whatever.
Right. A small shop's going to push out something new, and the people there are going to care about it more, I think.
Yeah. Like the corporate Little Caesars is kind of like soulless. Like, how can we just like sell this? And that's all they care about.
Squeeze the
and
most money
maybe
out of
their cheese is gonna like give people cancer or something.
But they don't care. They're just trying to squeeze the buck.
Exactly. And then then there's this there's like a pizza guy in Brooklyn who like cares so damn much about this pizza, and like that's like his passion.
And he's not making nearly as much money, but he's obsessing about making the perfect pizza. And that's kind of how it is with us in photography. Sometimes I buy an expensive lens that's not going to make me as much money just because I want the picture to be the very best it can be.
Yeah, I think these pizza makers also, they were they're characters, man. I look at photographers. Photographers are such characters. Like there's a weird ego that goes along with like owning your own business, and like people get so like into their way.
Nerds. All of us that think that we're really cool. All of us.
Yeah. And there's always like a facade and like sort of I don't know. It's just like be real for a minute and like get out of your way a little and like I don't
embrace the nerd. I try to embrace my inner nerd all the time.
Yeah, but
sure.
And then
anyway,
I
think we're about wrapped up here on time. We are getting to the end of the podcast here.
Yeah. Again, I have some really interesting blogs going on my website, nicksparksphotography.com. Also, check out my second Instagram at NickJSparks. I'd appreciate it. Anything you want to plug?
No, just go check out my same old stuff.
Any feedback on our new lens reviews would be appreciated. We're kind of getting started in this, and like we're not pushing out like we're just trying to kind of push it out and like learn more as we go. So
make it as we go. So hopefully it'll get better.
Yeah,
But
But
it's just a start for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let us know if there's any specific lenses that you want to hear about.
We have a
or-
ton of backlog. I think between Nick and I, we shot over 50 plus lenses together, so we should have a
Yeah.
lot of 50 plus equipment. So we should have
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
backlog on that.
For sure.
Over
Yeah.
time.
So you got the weekly podcast and gear reviews going up now. So let us know what you think and, share
Subscribe,
some of
yeah.
share these videos. We're trying to make it happen. I'm burping again. Happen a little bit more here. So definitely subscribe if you're just getting these in your home feed or something. And yeah, check out Mathew and I's work too. So.